All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday, June 29th. We've got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays so that I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3, 4 more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of yesterday, we'll take a nice little cha-ching. We go 5-3, and the good news is we did have 4, 2/3 unit plays, and then we had 3/4 unit plays, so 0.75. We hit 3/4 of the 0.75 plays, so 3 out of 4 there, which is nice because those were the bigger roll of the dice yesterday, right? The one that we kind of have some egg on our face for will be Kerry Carpenter, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Hits a home run, right? Which just seems like it happens. Just like Vientos and Torrens, those were good looks and they look good the whole time. When we have those bad hits, runs, and RBIs, it's not usually a guy gets like a hit and a run. It's the guy goes absolutely yard, which is a tough one to see, but nonetheless, still a positive day yesterday. We don't have a ride of the day. The day kind of just got away from us, so we didn't pick one yesterday. So let's jump back on that train today. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump aboard with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with you until you do lose. If you do lose, we give you a shout out. You got to face the womp womp from the soundboard. We have the ride of the day tracker down in the pinned comment as well for you guys to take a peek at. But all right, let's go ahead and dive into today's slate. Remember, Sundays can get a little wonky in the MLB, but we'll do our best here. Starting off with game number 1, Cleveland taking on St. Louis. Logan Allen on the bump against Matthew Liberatore. Liberatore's been pretty good. Even his last couple starts, pretty decent. He's got a lot of run support. Logan Allen, it just doesn't seem like he has any sort of X factor lately. I think this one's going to be coming down to the fact that I think both these offenses are somewhat close. Even in fact, game number 1 we saw it was all St. Louis. We were on the right side of that one. But yesterday, that was like a lead change of like 3 times. I think St. Louis got off the lead, Cleveland came back and hung in, and then St. Louis got the lead back. They won 9-6. I think these offenses are fairly in the same ballpark. For the most part, Cleveland's definitely had more droughts than St. Louis has, but I think Liberatore is a better little pitching advantage there over Logan Allen. And Logan Allen, I think, may have more talent to some degree, but he has not shown it this year. So I don't even know if I can say that comfortably. Give me St. Louis in this spot. I don't mind the idea of an over, though. If Cleveland's offense does start to maybe get things going, they scored 0 runs 2 games in a row, and then threw in 6 yesterday. Maybe they're finding something out. I don't necessarily mind the idea of an over. I think this one could be, like I've been saying, a 4-4 that someone's got to score the 9th run to get to get the win. All right, next up we have Pittsburgh taking on the Mets. Pittsburgh won game 1 of this series 9-1. They win yesterday 9-2. And it is funny because in both of those games, now again, I can't take credit for it, didn't have the cojones to roll with it myself, but in both of those game breakdowns, a couple days ago and then yesterday, I had said I think it's going to be a Mets spot. There's too much on the Pittsburgh side of things to make me want to roll with it. Well, there was a lot on the Pittsburgh side of things because they absolutely have crushed. They're up 18-3 through those 2 games. Today, Frankie Montas on the mound. Don't love that, but he is going up against Mike Burrows, who I don't necessarily love that for Pittsburgh. I think this is going to be a sweep avoidal spot here. I'm going to lean towards the Mets. Right now, you're getting them for, I believe, over on Novig, and we'll talk about Novig in a second. You can get them for mid -130s. Most books out there have a mid -140s. So, yeah, that's probably going to be what we end up looking at. Decent chance of being a final play. I think they have the better offense, and how long can we ask this Pittsburgh offense to put up 9 runs per game? It'll probably happen today, and I'm an idiot, right? But I do think that the Mets at least avoid a sweep from the Pirates here. So I like that spot. Maybe a Mets team total over. I don't necessarily mind the full game over because, again, I don't want to give too much credit to Frankie Montas. Not exactly like a big believer or anything in him, but enough to back a lineup that I think is going to turn it around, right? What did he do in his first start here? Five innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 earned, 5 strikeouts. That was against Atlanta. So I guess that's decent, right? In terms of his only start in the season. And that's against an offense I would deem a little bit better than Pittsburgh. So hopefully he can hold that in for the money line. But again, I don't necessarily want to, count my eggs before they hatch. I don't mind an over in this spot. I just prefer money line. And I mentioned it, we were going to talk about Novig, right? If you guys have not checked out Novig yet, you are missing out. If one of your states, or if your state is one of those that is highlighted, you need to go check it out. It is a sportsbook exchange. So instead of going up against the house or the book, you're going up against other individuals. They set their line and their price, and then you can either take the side of it or create your own lines over there as well. You are beating the books often with the value you're getting. I just mentioned the Mets, right? Some might say, oh, at minus 148, that's a little bit too much juice. I don't like it. But over on Novig, minus 133, minus 134, way different, right? That's like 10 cents of value, and that's just a simple money line play. So go ahead and check it out because they have player props and everything like that as well. It operates just like the normal DK, FD, all those books that you know and love, but you're going to get a lot more value on a bunch of plays. Is it going to happen every time? No, because then it'd be the only place you play. There is competitive in the market and whatnot, but a lot of the time you're going to find more value. Add it to your arsenal, guys. You want a line shop. You want to get the best price, and this is a place you're going to do that very, very often. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. I believe you get up to either 25 or 50 bucks in Novig Cash too when signing up, which is essentially the currency on that, right? Converting your dollars to it. So go check it out, guys. Link down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Let's jump back into these games. Atlanta taking on Philadelphia. Spencer Strider up against Ranger Suarez. So 2 good pitchers. I do think Spencer Strider, is going to look more and more like the Spencer Strider that we know and love, and that I definitely know and love as one of my guys in the Ev circle of trust here. He's looked okay though, right? In his comeback start. So I think that we can expect him to pitch fairly well, especially against the Phillies offense that just seems to be in a drought right now. I know they gave you 13, and we were on the right side of that. We cashed the money line a couple days ago at plus 133. They closed like plus 165, so I can't even brag about that. They got you 13 runs. But after that 1 run yesterday, before that 1 run, 0 runs, 1 run, this is still an offense that is struggling. That being said, Ranger Suarez, I think, can keep them in this. He is really good. I mean, he's going to throw the sinker. That is a pitch that Atlanta hits very well. But outside of that, fastball, cutter, changeup, he should be okay. So I'm almost looking at what we ended up playing yesterday. We've actually pegged this series pretty well so far. I don't mind the idea of a first 5 under. I'm sitting here thinking that, the fastball slider from Strider, tongue twister there, that could work against this Phillies lineup that just does not seem like the Phillies lineup that we know. And then on the other side of things, I think, again, Spencer Strider can at least suppress this Atlanta offense for a little bit of time. So, yeah, maybe a first 5 under is something that we're considering in this one. Yesterday, we loved it. It was one of our bigger plays. Probably like a hair less confident today just because, again, Strider and with the slider and then Suarez with the sinker are 2 pitches out of the pitch mix that the opposition hits okay, but the most of their pitches they don't. So yeah, this might be like a play where we go a little bit lighter on it today, but still actually has a chance of being a final play. So keep an eye on the final plays. It's probably the number one thing that I look at here. In terms of a side, I see Spencer Strider having a good game here at home. He has been good at home this year, 1.06 whip with a 2.13 expected FIP, average against of 219. His strikeout rate at home this year, 37%. And he's walking less guys at home. So I think it's a good spot for Strider to have a decent outing. Yankees taking on the Athletics. I really don't know exactly where to go with this one. We have Marcus Stroman on the mound, which seems like it could bring anything into question, right? He is coming back from a knee injury, I want to say, right? 3 starts on the season, the 30th of March, the 5th of April, and then the 11th of April. So he has not pitched in quite some time. When he was pitching, his numbers stunk. I think he's coming back with like a 12 ERA. He's going up against Luis Severino, who I don't necessarily have the kindest words for either. I think that he's very, very overrated. So yeah, I sit here and I'm like, all right, well, what the heck are we going to get here? I think I like over baseball in this one. Now, So far, we've seen a dud on either side and then one team perform. The Yankees shut out the Mets, and I think they only scored like 3 or 4 runs, but still, they scored. Mets didn't in game one. Game number 2, the Athletics yesterday, 7 runs scored, and the Yankees 0. I think today we see runs on both sides. I know the total's way up there at 9.5. I've already seen this move to 10 this morning in some places, so if you can get 9.5, I think there is some value. We're going to consider it. In terms of a money line or a side pick, you almost have to back Sacramento at this price because Marcus Stroman is literally a mixed bag. Like, you don't know if he's going to be all that great. Now, he obviously is a good pitcher in theory, right? Especially if his sinker's working. Like, he's had his really good times in this league. But this Oakland team the Sacramento team, the Athletics, I still, for whatever reason, am in a rut saying Oakland. This team, hitting righties, not all that terrible. They do like to hit ground balls, actually, so even if Stroman's pitching to the ground ball, it's not like it's an advantage for him making a pop-fly team hit grounders. I don't know. I think over is all I would look at in this one, and maybe Athletics, but I don't think I can get to the A's. All right, Red Sox taking on the Jays. Walker Buehler's on the mound. That's almost like an automatic right now. Don't feel comfortable looking at the Red Sox, right? He is going up against, I believe, let's see, it was Eric Lauer, right? Eric Lauer. So I don't think there's the best of pitching right here in this game. What I will say is Walker Buehler has the ability to, no pun intended, walk everybody in the lineup, then walk in a run because he loaded the bases via walk. So I do think Lauer, even the way that he's been pitching, has been way better. He just doesn't have the name to carry it, so you don't necessarily get impressed by him. But, the one counter to that would be that this is a lefty, and the Red Sox have been hitting lefties really well. So the way that I end up looking at this is, okay, Walker Buehler is probably going to stink some way, shape, or form. Even if he has a good outing, I think a good outing for him right now would be like 5 innings, 3 earned, and we'd be like, as Red Sox fans, all right, buddy, you did okay. Even I think Alex Cora once mentioned he's got one more start before we make any decision. So his back's against the wall. We'll see if he folds under pressure. But what I'm looking at here is 2 offenses that can probably put up somewhat of a respectable number. You know how we talked about the Yankees and the Athletics and how one team showed up, one team didn't in the first 2 games? Kind of had that here. Toronto 9-0 in game 1 of this series and 15-1 with the Red Sox yesterday. How about both guys and both teams, score in this one? So give me the over 9.5. But I cannot back Walker Buehler. I guess I'll take the Jays on the money line there. You're getting a good price, but it's kind of weird. It seems like a trappy line. Hey guys, real quick, if you're watching right now, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. I've really appreciated all of the likes on the videos as of late. You guys are absolutely crushing it in terms of support. So just a little reminder here, if you're watching and enjoying the content or you enjoy every day, or if it's your first time watching, make sure to hit those buttons. Again, that is like and subscribe. It just does us a hell of a lot here on the channel. So yeah, it's free to do, but helps us a ton. Consider clicking that button down below. I feel like we've had a lot of roller coaster ride games in these series so far. Baltimore 22-8, following it up with an 11-3 loss. So a lot of just like one team really just crushed it, the other team didn't. Next game we just switch. You know what I mean? In this one, it is kind of a tough one to peg. I will say that you have Dean Kramer against Taj Bradley. Taj Bradley was a guy that I could just religiously back at home last year, right? And, he hasn't been the same pitcher. In fact, I believe he's actually been better on the road this year, which, again, is kind of just completely counters what he was last year. What this will end up coming down to, at least for me, is the fact that, Tampa Bay's offense, I still do think, even though Baltimore scored, 20-plus runs in game 1, I still do think that this Tampa offense is better. Dean Kramer also does not have very good numbers against them, the current guys that make up the team. But you could say the same thing about Bradley. So I'd either be looking at a Rays spot here on the money line, or an over, or even just a Rays team total over, if that's the most simple thing. But to be honest, the Rays right now over 4.5 is -125. You can look at them on the money line. I think if they score 5 runs, say they could be good. You're getting that for -107. Actually -107 on Novig. It's -110 everywhere else. So another spot where Novig is a little bit better. So yeah, it's probably a Rays spot for me. But ultimately, I don't have that faith like I did last year in Taj Bradley situationally, and definitely not here. So maybe just an over could be something that we consider. This could be like a 5-4 game, but it could also be like we've already seen, a game where, one team kind of shows up, the other team absolutely goes nuclear. There's definitely the chance for that with these 2 pitchers on the mound. Reds taking on the Pods here. We got Kolek on the mound for San Diego, going up against Nick Lodolo for Cincinnati. Lodolo's had a lot of good starts this year. Most of them have come on the road, though. He is at home. I think his saving grace is going to be that the Padres do not seem to hit lefties all that well, even using our dashboard. And right after this, I'll explain how to get access to the dashboard like I always do when I show this to you guys. We build this ourselves. But you can see here, obviously that's the home and away split. We don't have away here, but you can see his season numbers are better than his home numbers, aka his road numbers are better, right? But right here, you can see that Kolek's a little bit better on the road. But what I was mentioning, this is a spot in which you're really seeing this Padres team struggle against lefties, right? Last 30 days, 24th in terms of average, 26th in WRC plus. Some of these power numbers down here, ISO slugging terrible, on base, OPS really, really bad. The one thing I will say is, some of these pitches like the curveball, I guess that might be the only one to note, aren't necessarily the worst pitches that we're going to see from Lodolo in terms of San Diego hitting them. But I can't necessarily just say, okay, well, they hit the curveball well, let's back San Diego, right? So I think it's going to be a Cincinnati lean for me. Do they have the late inning advantage? Maybe not. There's also going to be, probably a lot of run scoring opportunities in this ballpark, just like there always is. So, yeah, if this Padres offense gets hot, they can get hot. They obviously have the talent. But the Reds just seem to be a little bit more consistent offensively as of late, right? San Diego's gone 6-1-1, 4-6, 3-5, like very inconsistent. Whereas Cincinnati, at least, they have one sort of throwout, which was the last game against the Yankees, but they went 4-8-1, 5-8, 4-5 in their last 7. So this is probably going to be Cincinnati's spot. I think the Lodolo could be good as a lefty here. In terms of the total, 9's tough to see, but again, I think that is because Lodolo might be in a decent spot and Kolek's better on the road. I just can't take an under at Great American Ballpark with decent weather, right? Like, this is a ballpark that just induces runs to begin with, and it's going to be really humid and hot there today. We could see a decent amount of runs. All right, before we do move on to the next game, let me show you guys how to get access to that dashboard here. So over on GuyBostonSports.com, right here, GuyBostonSports.com, we have the members area, which is in the top right of your screen. It'll look a little different on mobile, but same idea. Members, MLB dashboard, you can go right to that. Now, I'm already logged in, so I'm going to get the dashboard, and you can see each and every game broken out in a visual format. This pulls from like 8 to 10 websites on any given day. Some auto-imported, what we've built with some code and whatnot. Some I manually do each and every day to get the up-to-date stuff, which does take a lot of work, but it's well worth it. You can open it up, you can print it out, you can do whatever you want with it, right? You can download it, save it, that type of stuff. You get it each and every day via the website. If you're not logged in, you're like, well, I want access to that. That looks pretty cool, which it is very cool. There's a lot of information there that you can use. You'll see this when you head over to that MLB dashboard, right? Membership required. You can view membership level. The only dashboard we offer right now because of the seasonality is the MLB dashboard, $4.99 per month. But we still offer this all sports dashboard because whatever price you get in at, you stay at that price with us. So even if we drop our new NFL dashboard or something like that, and months ago you got in at $6.99, and if this price goes up because of how we value our newest dashboard and that type of thing, you'll stay at that price. So that is why we offer it. But consider heading over again to GuyBostonSports.com and consider becoming a member. This thing will help you out each and every day because it is, again, consolidating a lot of websites. Is it an end-all be-all? No, but it's a hell of a good starting point. I promise you that. We built it for ourselves and use it still daily. White Sox taking on San Fran. So this one ended up being one of our better calls yesterday, huh? We had the first 5 under in this one, and it was just a low-scoring game in general. I think it was, 1-0. Was it 1-0? Yeah, so first 5 under, probably a good look, right? The under 4.5. Where do we go today? We have Cannon on the mound against Justin Verlander. Neither one of these guys have been all that special. I mean, Verlander obviously carries the name, but realistically, he's got like a 3 ERA over his last 5 starts, which is better than his season numbers, I will say that. And he's kind of struggled on the road. The one thing that I could say here is that he's going to throw a fastball. We know that. This Chicago team cannot hit a fastball. That being said, even using our dashboard, the slider is his next pitch 31% of the time. Would you look at that? The only pitch that it seems this White Sox team hits is the slider, even when you look at it from the player's perspective, right? You can see here, sliders, it's actually fairly green. So all of a sudden it's like, does Chicago get to him? Potentially. Like, I don't think I like the first 5 under here, but it's still a really bad offense. I think for the price tag, though, backing Cannon maybe in the first 5 would be something that I consider here. In terms of their first 5 money line price, what is that? Because I actually don't even mind the idea of a, first 5 plus the half. If this thing's tied like 1-1 or 2-2, you'd still cash that, right? So maybe that's a spot. Now, am I giving too much credit to Cannon? That could definitely be potential. But minus 115 for the plus the half, but plus 120 in the first 5. This is a Chicago team that, is, I guess, it looks like they've actually hung in there. They've only lost the first 5 in 30% of their games. They've only won it in 30 of this last 10, right? So 3-3, and then they have a couple, it looks like 4 ties. So maybe that 0.5 could be something as long as Cannon kind of brings the heat. But that's kind of a flyer at the very least. Like I don't want it to seem like that's like an absolute lock, right? But I would look at the White Sox first 5, and then in terms of a total, maybe an over. I think the longer this game goes on, the more opportunity there's could be for some runs. San Francisco probably can get to Cannon a little bit too because he hasn't looked all that sharp lately. So this is kind of a weird one in terms of a total, but I would lean over. I think it's just tough to do that with the White Sox, who are well capable of scoring 0 runs. Houston taking on the Cubs. We had the Cubs team total over yesterday at 3.5. They scored 12, so we paid a lot of juice for that 3.5. I even said in the video, I think that's worth it for the 1 run compared to 4.5. We could have taken their 11.5 line and it would have cashed. I wonder what the odds were on that. Today, I don't think the Cubs are going to have the best of days. I will say that. They're going up against a lefty in Framber Valdez, a lefty that's been phenomenal at home, and a lefty that the pitch mix, I do think, can suppress this Cubs team. The Cubs have been hitting a lot of fly balls. Now, while they do hit the sinker well, which is like Valdez's heat pitch, right? It's his best pitch. They don't necessarily hit it on the ground. He's a pitcher that's going to keep it on the ground for sure. So I think that the Cubs offense gets kind of muted today or suppressed. The question is, what is this Houston team going to do against Taillon, who has had some good starts this year? In fact, up until his last few starts, you were thinking Taillon's doing really, really well. He doesn't have the best numbers here against the Stros, so I think all around this is going to be a Houston spot for me, but I don't know if I really agree with the minus 150 price tag associated. I would like them to be in the minus 130s, and it looks like they're kind of far from that, right? Now, I will say, in fact, we might pull the trigger on this now that I see it. Our buddies over at Novig, minus 138. So I think I spoke it into existence. Also, minus 138 over on ProfitX as well. Yeah, I think Astros may be something that we back today, especially coming off of a pretty bad loss there yesterday. They bounced back with Valdez on the mound. Yeah, I don't think that's probably going to be a final play. In terms of the total, though, I don't think this is going to be an absolute high score. Even if the Astros do get to tie on to some degree, I don't think that they're going to put up 1 million like they did in Game 1 or like the Cubs did in Game 2. So I still don't mind the under here in this spot. I think this is like maybe a 4-3 or maybe like a 4-3 type of a ball game, maybe 5-3 with a push, but give me Houston in the under. Yeah, I think Houston's got a chance of being a final play, though. You guys can probably expect that just because we got the price. Again, thanks to these exchanges that we're talking about that are becoming bigger and bigger players in the market, we just saved about 15 to 20 cents of value because I don't think that they're minus 150 worthy. Even though I still think Houston's the side, I just don't think that that's the bang for your buck. Minus 138, we're only talking 12 cents, but that's a little bit more bang for your buck. And if you guys don't think that 12 cents matters over an entire MLB season, you are the crazy one. I'm telling you, if you're just that casual and whatnot, then that is totally, totally okay. But just trust me when I say you don't even need to look into it. That 12 cents, these 5 cents, these 10 cents that we're saving going from book to book and shopping, that matters a hell of a lot when you place a bunch each and every day over the long run of an entire MLB season. Just trust me there. All right, Milwaukee taking on Colorado. German Marquez going up against Chad Patrick. I'm not the biggest Chad Patrick fan. Now, we know when we roll with Chad Patrick. It's when teams do not hit the cutter. We've actually done really well, especially when Milwaukee's been plus money in some instances. He has a good cutter, right? Gets guys to even chase it when it's moving a little bit more. The swing and miss is okay, but definitely when teams can't hit a cutter, that is the time to play him. Let me show you this in the dashboard, guys. As bad as Colorado is, and we know this, look at this. The cutter, number 3 in terms of the entire league. Last 30 days runs above average. Runs above average is like a weighted WOBA number with also obviously runs being associated in general. We have that in the terms and conditions tab, but just FYI, that's kind of what I mean when I say runs above average. Really, I think it's a really good baseball stat off in terms of offense. But he throws the cutter and they actually hit it. So this is a spot in which I don't think it's worth backing him. Now, Can we get to Germán Marquez and the Rockies? I don't know about that, but maybe we consider an over in this spot. I mean, right now it's sitting at 8.5. If Marquez goes out there and stinks like we know he can, all we really need is the Rockies to put up something, right? So is it crazy to consider a Rockies team total over, or maybe the full game over? In fact, full game over right now is at 8.5, but what is a Rockies team total over? Because if we can get I can't believe I'm doing it. You know what? We'll sound the psycho alert alarm. But over 2.5, it's minus 154. Over 3.5 is plus 125. I could see the Rockies scoring today. I really can, and I know that that's kind of crazy. Maybe we look at that 2.5 for the juice, but you know we're crazy. But I do think that Patrick could allow some guys on base today, ultimately because of that cutter. Which maybe I'm getting a little too narrow focused, but it is what it is. Maybe that's something that we roll with. In terms of a side, yeah, again, Colorado would be the side, but no way that I can trust them in terms of a money line because it's still Marquez, and I still believe in the Milwaukee Bats. So yeah, Colorado team total over. One more psycho alert alarm, because that is crazy. I'll grant you that. But we might be doing that. We're getting weird on a Sunday. All right, KC taking on the Dodgers. Kansas City wins, yesterday, right? 9-5. We ended up rolling with the Dodgers. That was a tough one to swallow, but ultimately I still think we might go back to the Dodgers today just because of, I don't know, maybe I'm the idiot in the room, right? I'll always be willing to admit that. But when the Dodgers have a price tag behind them, and I still think that they're obviously the best team in the league, when they have a price tag behind them of like they do today, which is, what's the updated? Minus 110. This is a team that I do just think will win enough of their games to, no matter who's pitching or who they have pitching, just offensively, right, be able to go out there and win. Now, the one kind of drawback, and I do think it's a fair drawback, and if you like Kansas City today, then sure, is that you have Chris Bubic on the mound, who's been really, really good in terms of his recent starts. He's looked phenomenal. I mean, similar to Cameron, though, the one blemish I would say in his recent starts would be against the Yankees, a really good offense. So that's kind of how I kind of draw this one up and say, okay, well, you're still getting the Dodgers at minus 110, minus 105. Robelski might be pitching for them, if that is even. It's almost like we're at a point where I don't care who's pitching for the Dodgers. Do you know what I mean? Which is maybe not the smart thing, but I'm almost hoping that the Dodgers go out there and score. Now, you might be able to pivot and say, okay, well, Ev, if you like the Dodgers to score, why don't you look at their team total over? And that is definitely something that is viable, but the Dodgers, even to score 5 runs over 4.5 is minus 135. So to me, it's like that money line at minus 105, that is a deal in a sense compared to they're thinking that the Dodgers will score, it's heavily juiced to the over, that they'll score 5 runs. You have the Royals to score 5 runs is minus 110. So there's already a 20-cent discrepancy between the run lines or not the run line, but the team totals for both teams. Why not just look at the Dodgers on the money line for the minus 105? I threw a lot of numbers and odds at you guys, but that is kind of what is in my brain as of right now. So yeah, it's probably going to be the Dodgers. We cashed at game 1, lost at game 2. This will be the decider to see if that, I guess, was a viable option, we can say, right? So give me the Dodgers there. In terms of a total, again, maybe a team total over for the Dodgers. Bubic's very good. He is very good, but much like we spotted that with Cameron, he struggled against the Yankees, a lineup that's also very good. I think we could see something similar with the Dodgers today. So yeah, keep an eye on the final plays, but Dodgers at this price seems like you're walking into a dollar store and buying like a PS5 or something. I don't know. It's probably a really good analogy. All right, Texas taking on Seattle. I'm a little confused on this one. I will admit that. The price seems a little wonky to me. You have Luis Castillo against Jack Leiter. I would give Castillo the edge, even though he hasn't been pitching all that well, but Leiter really hasn't been lighting it up. I honestly didn't even mean to make that pun there, but I shall take it. But to me, it's like we have a pitcher on one side that just probably not even in the best situation ultimately, because when he went up against Seattle last time out in Leiter, he went 4 1/3, 8 hits, 6 earned, 2 home runs, just 2 strikeouts on 2 walks. So like, why are they almost at a pick here in terms of a pick 'em, right? Luis Castillo against this Texas squad, it's not like it's anything to necessarily write home about, but a lot better, right? In that same series, I don't think it was the same game, but in early May, 6 innings pitched, 1 earned. He only had 2 strikeouts in that one too, but that was a very low-scoring game that he pitched in, so it wasn't like the lighter one. I guess I would lean towards Seattle, especially after an L yesterday, but to me, it's like, why are they like, I would almost price this, and maybe this is getting a little too carried away, but I would almost price this at like Seattle minus 135. The fact that you can get them at minus 110 seems a little sketchy, right? So yeah, I'm going to lean towards Seattle, but the thing that's keeping me off of it is, again, that weird priceness. It's Sunday, and if you guys don't know, if you haven't been betting MLB long enough, weird things happen on Sundays in the MLB. It's just, I mean, it's fun, but definitely weird. In terms of the bullpen situation for both these squads, a lot of action from both of them over the last couple days. So the late innings could get a little bit dicey. I will say that. A lot of key arms for both guys are in question. So maybe you could make the argument Texas has a late game advantage. That might be why we're looking at, what we're looking at from a lines perspective. But again, it might just be worth taking a peek at the Mariners for me. So yeah, keep an eye on the final plays to see if we roll with it. But that is where I'm at right now. Angels taking on Washington. I keep talking about this game and this series, and I just don't know which, like 15-9, then 8-2. I guess you can just blindly take overs in this spot because of the pitching. Mitchell Parker, though, can probably hold his own against this Angels squad. He is a lefty. Them against lefties is blah. I mean, they're not that great at home just in general. Ultimately, what I would say, though, is Jack Kachanowicz actually not exactly. That's a weird thing to say, in the best spot. So we saw a fantastic sinker thrower in Jose Soriano lead this series off, right? Well, check out our dashboard here. Sinker is going to be pretty much the main pitch that this dude's going to throw. Would you look at that? Washington, yeah, believe it or not, after scoring 15 runs in game one, they're still ranked number 1 in the last 30 against the sinker. So that's probably the side that I would look at. Washington with Parker on the mound, I think that's a little bit more value-esque. Now, do I have the cojones to walk in there and take Mitchell Parker in the Nats? I don't know about that. That could be stretching it, but to me, this is another spot in which you could look at Nationals, maybe their team total over if you can get a good number behind it. In fact, let's get an updated line right now so I can share it with you guys. Hoping for let's see. Yeah, I guess 4.5 for minus 115. I'd like 4.5 if it was plus money, or 3.5 if it was before, within minus 160. So it isn't. That would be what I look at. This is a weird one, though. I've been saying that all series long. All right, guys, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 31 down below. 3-1. That was actually harder to do than I thought. 3-1 lets me know that you made it this far into the video and that you're not a guppy, right? The guppies are always like, hey, why is everyone commenting 31? Why are they commenting this? If you know, you know. Now, I don't expect everyone to make it 31 minutes into me rambling and talking and stuttering and all that, or going on rants. I get it, but that's why I consider it really special when people do. So let me know by commenting 31. Seems super simple, but it actually does mean a lot to me, which sounds corny, but I always tell you guys how grateful I am and don't take any of this for granted, so it's warranted. But all right, let's get into this one here. We got the Diamondbacks taking on the Marlins. The Diamondbacks have Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound, going up against Cal Quantrill. Quantrill's actually been decent. Decent saying a lot, because this is a guy that really has had his struggles this year, last year, all that, right? Now, the Diamondbacks have lost game one of this series, right? Was it 9-8? They lose yesterday 8-7. What do they do today? Do they have Eduardo Rodriguez, who actually has looked okay in his last couple starts, albeit one of those was against the White Sox, in which he had 10 Ks, 6 innings pitched? Sure. But you got to remember, this is a lefty, and this Marlins team has been, struggling with lefties overall. They face a lot of good lefties. I will say that, that's kind of drawing them back a little bit. To me, this is probably a spot in which we can back Eduardo. The problem is, do we like Eduardo Rodriguez at minus 190? I would say hell no. You know what I mean? That is a decent price tag to be giving this guy. Where I think we can go, and I hope that this just continues to be the case, that even if Eduardo Rodriguez goes out there and kind of stinks or doesn't do that well, Diamondbacks team total over 4.5 seems like it could be a decent spot. On the season, they've scored at least 5 runs in 65% of their games. Against righties at home, they've scored in 5 runs in 21 of 31. That's 68. And they've done it in 9 of their last 10, averaging 6.7. So, yeah, I think that this could be a decent spot to back a Diamondbacks team total over. Again, if you can get a good price with Eduardo, I don't necessarily mind it. I will say, I think that he could pitch okay against a Marlins team that I'm not all that afraid of. But just go out there and score. Diamondbacks, it's all we're asking you to do, right? Go out there and score, and I think that we're cooking with some gas. So, yeah, give me the Diamondbacks team total over. But it's not because I think Eduardo Rodriguez could be good. I don't think he's worth the price they have. But this is usually when we go team total over, it's because we're really avoiding the pitcher. most times I am probably avoiding the pitcher in Eduardo, right? Because I don't like him all that much. I remember him with his Red Sox days. But today I actually think that he could pitch okay. I think the safer play, though, and the more odds-driven play would be that team total. All right, last game on the slate. We got Detroit taking on Minnesota. This has been an interesting series, I guess, to say the least, so far. In yesterday, Detroit drops 10, right? Game number 1 was a low-scoring Minnesota. We had the over in that game, of course. Over in that game, and 4-1 was the final. David Festa and Gibson Long actually pitched the lower scoring game compared to Ober and Mize, which is crazy. Today you have Tarek Skubal on the mound, who's coming off of like a dicey start. Still ended up getting 8 Ks through 6 innings of work, but the Athletics actually got to him early. They scored 4 runs in the first couple innings. Chris Paddock, not Chad Patrick. We've already talked about him enough. Going up against Skubal, I do think that both guys could kind of hold their own here. The problem with what I have in saying that is that because Skubal's on the mound, that first 5 under, anything like that, is already juiced through the moon just because of the weight that he carries, which is fair, by the way. So, yeah, it would be first 5 under for me in this spot, but I don't necessarily think that we can get the price that we want, right? Right now, 4.5 for -160. Not actually loving that. And what's weird is that if you look at Skubal's numbers for his first 5 unders, they actually don't look all that great. Now, his do, but his team seems to go off a decent amount of the time when you're in that spot. So kind of weird to think about there. This is a Detroit team that doesn't hit righties all that phenomenally or anything like that. So if you like the idea of the first 5 under, I wouldn't mind it. I think it's a little bit too expensive. Where I'd pivot to, and we started to have some success, but not so much anymore, would be the first 3 under, 2.5. You're saving 5 cents. This one's -155 compared to the -160. In terms of Chad Patrick on the season on the road, he hasn't been all that great. I think 2/3 of his games have gone over. And Detroit, I already talked about Skubal. His numbers don't look all that phenomenal in the first 3 either, but when at home, they really do. So that would be what I ultimately end up rolling with, I guess. And honestly, that might be a play just because we want to involve, like when Skubal's on the mound, you don't get that every single day. You want to involve him to some degree. So maybe that is something that we consider. In terms of player props, we may have had, let me see if I can pull this up. We may have had an under on the Twins, if I'm not mistaken. No, I guess not. So I thought we did, but yeah, I guess not. So it would just be that first 3 under or nothing for me in this one. And then Detroit first 5 run line, maybe back in Skubal. That could be something to consider. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know exactly what to do. Go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. I mean it when I say that I'm super appreciative of all of the love. Baseball is a sport in which, not everybody in the country loves. Some people think it's boring, all that, but we're showing and having a good time and obviously entertaining you guys to some degree that this is a sport that the minute you start having some action on it and whatnot, it is absolutely awesome. It's a good sport in general, but you guys know what I mean, right? So really do appreciate the support through the baseball season, because a lot of people would call that like the dog days of summer and the boring time of the sports year. I think it's absolutely electric. So appreciate you guys a lot, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.